Thanks to attending the meeting of Planning Committee on Tuesday the 17th of January. And can I say, it's really nice to see some young faces in the chamber tonight. It makes a change than having to, than having to look at you lot. So it's really nice to see you boys. My name's Councillor June Molyneux. I'm the chair of the committee, Councillor Alex Hilton's vice chair. Please note the committee is being streamed live on YouTube. If you're a member of the public who's registered to speak, you will have a time limit of up to 3 minutes. The legal officer will operate a stopwatch and inform you when your time runs out. You should then finish, or if you're in the middle of making a point, wind up within a few seconds. Where's Chris? No, not Chris. Alex.
The legal officer isn't here.
Good point. Where's Alex? We seem to have lost somebody. They'll send out a search party. You should finish speaking, or if you're in the middle of making up a point, wind up within a few seconds and then finish speaking, otherwise your microphone will be muted. For ease, a pack's been prepared which contains the report, plans and presentation slides for each item to ensure that everyone can easily follow the agenda, which is available online. After the officers have presented the report and any speakers have made their representations, I'll invite members of the committee to make any comments. When you want to speak, please raise your hand to indicate to me that you wish to speak. When invited to speak, please turn on your microphone and switch it off when you finish speaking, please. When you are speaking, please reference the paragraph page number to enable everybody to follow you. With that, we shall move on to apologies. I think we've one apology from Councillor Sherwood and Councillor Singh is substituting for her. Item 1, minutes of the meeting of Tuesday the 8th of December. I forgot to say Happy New Year, everyone, because it's our first meeting back. It doesn't feel like New Year anymore somehow. So Happy New Year, everyone. The planning meeting of the 6th of December. Will somebody move those minutes, please? Thank you. Seconded, thirded. All those in favour? Thank you. Declarations of any interest. Members are reminded of their responsibility to declare any pecuniary interest in respective matters contained in the agenda. If you have such an interest, you must withdraw from the meeting. Normally, you would leave the room before the business starts to be discussed, but you do, however, have the same right to speak as a member of the public, and you may remain in the room to enable you to exercise that right and then leave immediately. In either case, you must not seek to improperly influence a decision on the matter. So have any declarations? Sure. No? Sir?
Can I turn this on first?
Can I just say, on the application for Lancaster Farm, which was previously owned by myself and my family, I have no monetary interest in it whatsoever. It was sold, and I do not, but I'll need to declare that just to be on the safe side.
Yeah, okay.
Well, I'll probably not be speaking on it anyway. So.
Thanks for that, Councillor Heaton. Planning applications to be determined. We have 5 planning applications to be determined tonight. For the benefit of the public here tonight, the speaking arrangements for planning applications as follows. The officers will summarise the report and registered speakers will be invited to speak in the following order. Objector, supporter, parish town councillor, ward councillor, applicant or agent. All registered speakers will be allowed to speak for 3 minutes, apart from a ward councillor who may speak for up to 5 minutes. In the event that all speakers are against an application, as chair, I will grant the applicant or representative a time extension. I would respectfully ask members of the public who have not registered to speak to remain quiet throughout the proceedings, and can you switch your phones to silent, which I've already done. Now, with your, well, it's not with your indulgence, I'm doing it. Item E, I'm moving forward, which is the football club, which is where our young men are involved in. We don't want them up too late, you know, like this. So item 3E, Rectory Field, School Lane, Mawdesley, pages 133 to 162. Mike's going to present this item. The recommendation planning permission is granted subject to conditions, and I have one registered speaker, Chris Glover. Right, Mike, do you want to present the report, please?
Thank you, Chair. The application site is located in the Green Belt in Mawdesley. and comprises two distinct parcels, one being the agricultural field to the east of the existing cricket pavilion building, and the other being to the west of it on land towards the junction of School Lane, J Bank and High Street. There are residential properties along the southern side of School Lane, most of which front it. The western part of the site is an existing sport and recreational facility. Full planning permission is sought for the change of use of the agricultural field to a football pitch, which is a recreational use. The proposal also includes the provision of a car park and a new footpath to link the car park to the proposed pitch. The proposal would be utilised by Mawdesley Juniors Football Club and would be comprised of a single 11-a-side pitch with a 9-a-side pitched mark inside it. 5 representations have been received in objection to the proposal, as outlined in detail in the committee report, raising issues that include loss of privacy, noise and disturbance when the pitches are in use, and an increase in traffic. 22 representations have been received in support of the proposal, also outlined in detail in the committee report, stating amongst other things that the proposal will improve health and well-being, provide opportunity for children in the village to play within the village, and the proposal provides a natural extension to the cricket club. Mawdesley Parish Council have also responded in support of the proposal. As explained in detail in the committee report, there are no outstanding objections from technical consultees subject to conditions, and Sport England have noted that the proposal is supported by the Football Foundation. Members will be aware that, in accordance with the National Planning Policy Framework, development will only be permitted within the Green Belt under certain exceptions or where very special circumstances can be demonstrated. The framework confirms that very special circumstances will not exist unless the potential harm to the Green Belt, by reason of inappropriateness and any other harm, is clearly outweighed by other considerations. 2 exceptions of the framework from inappropriate developments are engineering operations and changes in use of land, provided they preserve the openness of the Green Belt and do not conflict with the purposes of including land within it. It is considered in this instance that the proposed car park and associated footpath are an engineering operation. However, as they would occupy an undeveloped area of the site, which is laid to grass, this built form, combined with the use of the parking of vehicles, would have some harm to the openness of the Green Belt, and there would be additional harm from encroachment of the countryside. The change in use of the field itself would not impact on openness of the Green Belt. Paraphernalia such as football goals would be brought out for each match and would be removed afterwards. They would not be permanent structures, and the hours of use of the field will be restricted, as would the use of the field for sports to that of Mawdesley Juniors FC. Accordingly, the change of use is considered to preserve openness. This use would, however, result in encroachment of the countryside. The proposal is, therefore, inappropriate development in the Green Belt, and substantial weight is attached to the harm by reason of inappropriateness. Failure to preserve openness and encroachment into the countryside. It is, however, considered that in this instance, very special circumstances exist to outweigh the harm caused to the Green Belt and other harm identified through the provision of a valuable sports facility in the village that children will be able to use, along with other benefits outlined in detail in the committee report. The proposed car park will be used by the football club when matches are to be played, which would generally be on Sunday afternoons out with the summer. It will be gated to prevent unauthorised use. Whilst there is usually some noise associated with car parks in terms of cars revving and doors closing, as well as noise associated with people coming and going, it is unlikely that such noise will be seriously detrimental to the amenity of residents who live in the properties to the south of School Lane, given the separation to the nearest property is more than 17 metres. The proposals would not have a serious detrimental impact on the outlook of privacy of occupiers of the residential properties near the site, given their relationship with the site and separation from it, nor would it cause a loss of light or overshadowing as suggested by objectors. Other issues noted in the committee report, such as ecology, access, drainage and the protection of residential amenity can be adequately controlled by planning conditions. The proposal accords with the relevant national and local planning policies, including policy HW1 of the Chorley local plan relating to the provision of new sport and recreation facilities, and the application is therefore recommended for conditional approval. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Mike. Have we got Chris, please?
Good evening, my name is Chris Glover from Mawdesley Juniors Football Club. Our club was established in 2008 by a group of local parents who aspired to set up a community football club for local children. Since 2008, the club has grown steadily and we now have 8 teams playing across different age groups from under 6 to under 14s. The aim and vision of our football club are that boys and girls, regardless of ability, can play football in a safe and enjoyable environment, to develop their football skills, make new friends and feel part of a team. Our younger age groups play all their football matches in Burscough as part of the Burscough Junior Football League. Our older age groups play their football matches at Bishop Rawsthorne School in Croston. In addition to this, all our age groups train together on the 3G pitch at Bishop Rawsthorne School from September to June. We currently have an opportunity to lease a field directly behind Rectory Field, creating a new football pitch for children to play football matches in Mawdesley once again. One of the main advantages of the field location is a cricket pavilion, which provides essential toilets and changing facilities. Working closely with Mawdesley Cricket Club, the new field would add to the excellent sporting facilities already in place at Rectory Field, while preserving the openness of the green belt for future generations. As well as a new football field, we have proposed a cellular grid and grass car park directly off High Street, removing traffic from School Lane to reduce the impact on residents. The new car park would serve parents bringing their children to football matches and would also be used for village community events such as Mawdesley Walking Day. We're very proud to have local support for our application and help from the Parish Council, who recently agreed on a grant towards our project should our application be successful. I hope you can see how passionate we are as a football club to get children off their devices and outside, to play sports and ultimately feel part of our village community. The cricket club has done this very well and we aim to emulate their success. Thank you.
Thank you. Over to you, members. Councillor Hilton. Councillor Boardman.
Thank you, Chair. I'm fully in support of this. I think it's a great application. Officers have set out how this meets the requirement for the special circumstances. It's providing an amenity for the youth of the area. It will stop them travelling, reducing carbon footprint. So, yeah, I'm completely in support of this application. If it goes through, boys, enjoy your new facility. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Boardman.
Thank you. It's not past yet, Councillor. As you know, Mawdesley is a small rural village. It's got around 1,900 residents. However, the village has an amazing ability to support many community organisations, clubs and groups. With a village hall, we have a tennis club, a bowling club, a running club, an award-winning cricket club, and these are all supported by volunteers and residents. Not-for-profit organisations and that people aren't paid to do their roles. The clubs attract people from not just Mawdesley but from the surrounding villages and that's something to applaud. Mawdesley hasn't had a football club for over 30 years and even then it was a seniors team that played on a small pitch on Bluestone Lane, I think it was at the time. Recently in 2008 a group of parents started a small juniors club to play in the local leagues. The club has grown steadily, as Mr Glover said, and it boasts a huge amount of players, around about 115 in total, all mixed abilities, all mixed sex, boys and girls, and that's the nice thing about it, they run mixed teams up to the age of under 14s. Currently, as Mr Glover said, they train outside the village in Burscough and Croston, which leads to a huge amount of car journeys by parents out of the village. It's like an exodus, actually. And what we're seeing here is an application made by a group of volunteers and parents to bring a sporting facility into the village. Well overdue it is. The question to ask is, from a planning matter, is, as was recapped by Mike, is the question is there very special reasons why this football club, by this application, should be moved forward, and do these special reasons outweigh any harm to the Greenbelt? The question to ask is, what harm is there to the Greenbelt? I think the officers have done a very good job in ascertaining that it's minimal harm to the Greenbelt. There are no buildings being constructed as part of this application. There's nothing really coming out of the ground at all. If anything, there's a benefit to the current situation because currently traffic use School Lane to access the cricket club. And that is the only entrance into the cricket club at the moment. A temporary entrance is off High Street, which is used by the village members on certain occasions like tea party, walking day, etc. But that is straight onto a grass field. So it's not suitable for parking on in winter. What the football club are coming forward with is an application to basically put a hard standing on that, but also to grass it, so it still looks like grass. So it can be used all year round, which is a benefit for not just the football club, but the cricket club as well, and most of the residents of the village. I do like the application. I think it's been well prepared. It's been a long time coming, I believe. I think the officers have done a great job in supporting it, and I'll quite happily second Councillor Hilton's recommendation.
I hadn't proposed it, happy for you to propose it. A pleasure to second.
Fight it out amongst yourselves.
You propose, I'll second it, Councillor. Thank you.
Whatever.
I'm happy to second that.
Councillor Beaver.
I'm happy to leave that.
Right, okay.
Can't add any more to that.
Any more comments? If not, I'll move to the vote. Right. Okay.
Are we voting?
We're all looking at you now, you see. Alex?
Thank you, Chair. Members have voted unanimously to approve the application, subject to conditions in the report.
Thank you. And if you've come for that application, you can go now. That's it. We don't have a second half, you're all right.
Good luck, boys. Enjoy your new facility.
It's not good enough. Avenue, Withnell, pages 7 to 28. Adele's going to present this item. The recommendation remains as per original report and an addendum that Planning Commission refused for the reasons outlined. I have 3 registered speakers, the objector, James Mattison, the ward councillor, Margaret France, and the applicant. Adele.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Members will recall that this application was deferred at last committee to give everyone the opportunity to visit the site, and the site visit actually took place at the end of last week. The application seeks planning permission for the erection of a part 2-storey, part single-storey extension to the rear, a 2-storey extension to the side, and a single-storey extension to the front of the property at 7 Oakmere Avenue in Withnell. The application site comprises a semi-detached dwelling within a line of similar properties and it's located in the Greenbelt. The framework and local plan do allow for extensions of buildings in the Greenbelt, provided that they do not result in disproportionate additions over and above the size of the original building. In this instance, the proposed extensions would not exceed a 50% increase in volume above the original dwelling and are therefore not considered to be disproportionate. As such, the development would not result in unacceptable harm to the Greenbelt. The proposed extensions to the side and front would be visible within the street scene along Oakmere Avenue. These would not be overly prominent and would be appropriately subservient, whilst the design and siting would not be harmful to the street scene or the character of the area, given the variety of additions in evidence at other properties. However, the proposed development would increase the scale of built form within close proximity to the dwellings on either side at numbers 6 and 8 Oakmere Avenue, to the extent that it's considered that there would be a level of impact on light and outlook to the windows at these properties that would be unacceptable in terms of the level of residential amenity enjoyed by the occupiers of those properties. Consequently, it is recommended that the application is refused for the reasons detailed in the report. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Adele. Have I got James Mattison, please?
Good evening, my name is James Mattison. I reside at number 6 Oakmere Avenue with my wife and 1-year-old daughter. We moved into the property in June 2022 and Mr Baker moved in to number 7 in September 2022. We purchased number 6 as a family home and intend to settle here, potentially expanding our family unit. So we at number 6, along with my neighbour at number 8 and several other households along Oakmere Avenue do object to the plans that have been submitted by Mr Baker. We feel that Mr Baker's plans to build forwards, sideways, upwards and backwards on a plot which is quite small mean it is not possible to do so without impacting negatively on neighbouring properties. Policy HS5 of the Chorley local plan states that there should be no unacceptable adverse effect on the immunity of neighbouring properties through overlooking loss of privacy or reduction in daylight, and we have based our objections on these factors. In her report on the proposed development, Planning Officer Hannah Roper recommended that the proposal should be rejected. Ms Roper concluded the first floor element of the proposed development would, by reason of its siting height and proximity to neighbouring side-facing habitable windows, result in unacceptable adverse impacts of loss of light, overbearing effect on loss of outlook for residents at 6 and 8 Oakmere Avenue, which would be detrimental to their living conditions. So I'd ask that you consider the professional judgment of the planning officer to reject the proposals on the basis that are in breach of policy according to the Chorley Local Plan 2012 to 2026. In terms of our specific objections, in regard to the rear, this will sit directly in front of the neighbouring habitable window. This is raised in point 31 of the planning officer's report, whereby she notes that the first floor element would sit only 5.8 metres from number 8's facing habitable room window, and therefore fails to accord with HS5 of the Chorley local plan, which states that any interface should be 12 metres minimum. Such a development would result in an overbearing impact and loss of light to this window and have a detrimental impact on this dwelling, and this is a concern echoed by the resident of number 8. In regard to the side extension, our concerns centre around the overbearing impact and loss of light that the proposals would have on our property. The planning officer's report again states the addition of a first floor at a distance of 4.7 metres would result in an unacceptable adverse impact in terms of loss of light, outlook and overbearing, which would be detrimental to the living conditions at number 6. Our property at number 6 does have an existing 2-storey rear extension, which has been referenced. This was completed in the 1970s as part of a block grant, which included extensions being completed at the same time to 7 and 8 Oakmere Avenue. So the extension number 6 was completed some 45 years ago. In point 37 of her report, Hannah Roper comments that previous developments do not set a precedent for future developments, and each case is considered on its own merits against relevant planning policies. As already highlighted, we feel the proposals by number 7 are in breach of the policies that included in the Chorley local plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Councillor France.
Thank you. I'd like to compliment the last speaker on getting his timing absolutely right there and just concluding on the moment that that buzzer went off. And he's really taken the wind out of my sails because he said absolutely what all the points are. I have to admit that I've always had a certain appreciation of those properties on Oakmere Avenue. It's for those of you who've been on the site visit, you'll know it's an unadopted road. I'm afraid the worst part about it are the potholes in the road, as you'll have discovered if you attempted to drive up there. But it's very attractive, sort of post-war, semis, traditional, red brick. Yeah, they've had a few bits added on over the years, but by and large, they've maintained their original shape and design. And I'm not too sure that sticking an extension on the front of this would really fit in with the rest of the properties on the road. There are one or two that have very small little canopies over the front door, and I think there's one that has a small glass porch, but not to the size of this that is intended here. And I think, thank you for the preparation of the report, and I would agree with the officer's recommendations here. To quote them, as I couldn't put it better myself, it would result in unacceptable adverse impacts on the amenity of the occupiers of neighbouring properties either side. due to loss of outlook, overbearing impact and loss of light, which will be detrimental to the living conditions and fails to comply with policy HS5 of the Chorley Local Plan and the Householder Design Guidance supplementary planning document. And I think that really says it all. So I think I can understand that the owners would like to make the property larger, but this should not be at the expense of the amenity to the neighbours either side. And I think I'd be hoping that you'll decide this evening to refuse this planning application. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for last time and last month for actually coming out on a site visit. I'm the owner of 7 Oakmere, and as I said, we're not trying to build something monstrosity here. We're just trying to put a downstairs loo in the property, and the only place we can fit one at the moment is to the right of the door, i.e. to the front right where the porch will be. The only extension we are looking at is all the rest is under pretty much building permitted buildings as part of going forward. So the single story extension to number 8 will take place regardless, because we'll do it under building permissions going forward. So the second story extension, and reference that it's not 12 metres, it's 7 metres from the boundary. We will build that as well, because we'll just set it back 1 further metre instead of being where it is today. I says, and we're still going to do the front 3 metre porch as well as the bay window. So the only difference now, which is excluded in this discussion, is the downstairs loo and the stairs and the siting of the stairs. We're trying to move the stairs outside because it allows us then to refocus the inside and allow it for wheelchair access. It allows it to access my uncle upstairs on a standing lift and allows him a disabled toilet downstairs as he moves into the property and because he's got Alzheimer's and he's very ill. So as a carer of my uncle, and I've been now for the last 5 years, it's key that I look after him as well as myself. But the property is to be done. We're trying to get it done as quickly as possible for him to move into the property as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Over to you, members. Councillor Morwood.
Thank you, Chair. I went on the site visit because I didn't know the area, and I wanted to see what the rest of the houses look like. Yeah, there's been a number of extensions and bits and pieces put on there, and generally speaking, my first thought was, well, why can't this just do the same? Unfortunately, it's come at the end of all these bits and pieces, and as far as I can see, the main concern, okay, is the loss of light and the loss of outlook. I have problems at the moment with the loss of light, given my first thought was this was the main window into the property, or that particular room. But from the site visit, there are windows at the back, there are windows at the front into that particular area. So I can't see why so much emphasis is being put on the loss of light at that particular side window. The loss of outlook at the moment, I'm undecided in terms of whether it would be a terrific loss of outlook. There's still, I think, I've seen much narrower spaces between houses in various modern developments, but that's neither here nor there. At the moment, I certainly don't see the loss of light as an important issue. Possibly the loss of outlook, I'm still to determine. I'll leave it at that for the time being.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to mirror what Councillor Moywood said, that 3/4 of this can be done under permitted development, and it's just this side extension. And exactly what he said, I'm minded to go against the officer's recommendation and go for approval. But I'd like to listen to if anybody else has got anything to say.
Thank you, Chair. We're determining this application, not one that might come to us later. I move to accept the recommendation from the officers.
The majority of the works that are proposed on this application could be achieved under permitted development. The problem is when these applications, when they come forward, when you put everything together, it's it looks like a vast extension. It isn't, because it's still within our under the 50% of the original dwelling. However, when you look at it, you're minded to think, okay, you know, the reasons that we've put this forward, the officers put this forward for refusal is loss of life and potential. I was looking if the amenity had come into it, and I don't think it has. Loss of light and where is it? Yeah, amenity, detrimental to living conditions. I think as a committee we have to think very hard and careful about those, and really what loss of amenity is, whether that's some, you know, looking out at a brick wall, looking out at a window. There's a couple of details on the application I'm not that happy with on the side extension, but I'll listen to the committee members and then make a decision.
Councillor France.
Yeah, I've been doubts about this one, and I think there would be some loss of amenities. So I'm quite happy to propose the officer's recommendation.
I think I'm in the same position as Councillor Morwood, and I'm minded at this minute in time to go against the officer's decision and to let the extension go ahead. It's very minimal to me, and I've seen a lot worse in the time I've been on this committee and looking around the area. And to me, we talk about special circumstances. There are some special circumstances here that I'm very mindful of. So I will be voting against the officer's recommendation. Thank you.
Second Councillor Ridden.
Sorry?
In the element of fairness, I'll second Councillor Ridden's proposal.
So I've got a proposal and a second for not refusal.
Approval of.
Approval. That's the word I was looking for. Thank you. Councillor Beaver.
No, just go and confirm the proposal is...
I've two proposals.
Right, that's right. I'm with you now.
Right, are you okay with that now? I've got a proposal and a seconder for the officer recommendation, and I've a proposal and seconder for approval. And I'll take the amendment first. All those in favour of approval, please show when we get it up.
This is approval of the recommended officer.
Against the officer, yeah.
Can you just recap that, Chair?
Sorry?
Can you recap what we're voting on?
You're voting now to... We're not voting to approve the officer recommendation, we're voting for the opposite.
Sorry, I voted wrong then.
Hang on. We're voting against the officer recommendation.
Right, sorry.
So we're voting for approval or not, as the case may be.
Thank you, Chair. 8 members have voted against approving the application. 4 members have voted for. So the motion to approve the planning permission application has been lost.
Right. All those in favour of the officer recommendation now, please. See, we've got our way around this eventually. Okay, Alex.
Thank you, Chair. Members have voted to refuse the planning application.
Thank you. And if anybody's come just for that application and they wish to go now, please feel free. Well,
Yeah. It was confusing, that, wasn't it, Aaron? What's ready?
Adele's, I've not switched that on. Adele's going to present this item. The recommendation is planning permissions granted subject to conditions. I've no speakers. Adele.
Thank you, Chair. The application site is located within the settlement boundary of Chorley, with the immediate locality comprising a range of land uses. It is currently occupied by two-storey buildings which are currently vacant and were previously in use as a garage business and more recently used for storage. 35 and 37 St Thomas's Road are situated at the junction of St Thomas's Road and Devonshire Road and are Grade 2 listed buildings. They are, however, partly separated from the application site by the intervening development of 180 Devonshire Road to the north, which is a single-storey unit and is currently vacant. To the south is the former revenue building, since converted to apartments. Outline planning permission is sought to demolish the existing buildings and to erect an apartment block comprising up to 4 units. All matters are reserved, save for access, which would be obtained from Devonshire Road. Indicative site layout and elevation plans have been submitted in support of the proposal, which depicts how the site could be developed. However, issues of scale, layout, landscaping and appearance would be determined as part of a future application for reserved matters consent. One objection has been received from a neighbouring resident that is detailed in the main report. There are no outstanding objections from technical consultees subject to conditions. Members will be aware that Policy V2 of the Chorley Local Plan sets out that within settlement areas excluded from the Greenbelt, there is a presumption in favour of appropriate sustainable development subject to material considerations and other policies and proposals within the plan. The National Planning Policy Framework advises that to promote the development of a good mix of sites, local planning authorities should support the development of windfall sites through their policies and decisions, giving great weight to the benefits of using suitable sites within existing settlements for homes. The principle of residential development on this site is acceptable in planning policy terms, subject to other considerations as set out in the committee report. The site is considered to be in a sustainable location, close to the town centre, and therefore the proposed level of parking provision of 1 car parking space per unit is acceptable. Furthermore, it is considered that a sensitively designed scheme at reserved matters stage would ensure no harm is caused to the setting of the nearby listed buildings, residential amenity, or the character and appearance of the area. Given the dilapidated condition of the existing buildings, a betterment for the site and the surrounding area could be provided by the final proposal. Other issues noted in the committee report, such as ecology, contaminated land, risk from historic coal mining activity, drainage and archaeology, can be adequately controlled by the imposition of appropriate planning conditions. To summarise, the proposal accords with the relevant national and local planning policies, and the application is therefore recommended for approval subject to conditions. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Chair. I can't see any problem with this personally. It's in the town centre. It's houses that are, we need to build in the town centre. The only thing that does worry me is the car parking. It's right on, comes onto the Devonshire Road, which is a busy road. But there again, this place is on St Thomas's Road, where they actually have to back out there. So, but that's the only thing that concerns me. And I think it's been an eyesore for a long, long time. I think it needs doing, and I'm quite happy to propose the officer's recommendation.
To tidy up that part of town, I think is long overdue. Again, it's given us another 4 smaller dwellings within the town centre, within easy walking distance to all the facilities that town's got to offer. It'd be nice to see when the reserved matters application comes forward, the details involved in it, but the principle, yes, fully support, and I'd second Councillor G.
Anybody else wish to comment? Councillor Morwood.
Just a quick one. Yes, I think it's an excellent development. It will definitely improve the street scene. It's surrounded by very similar apartment blocks, Sumner House, Peter House, I think it is. And as for the car park, well, at least I think there will be a proper area at the front, as opposed to the couple of cars and so on that park around Peter House behind the bus stop, and that I don't know how on earth they get away with that, but that's irrelevant. But really happy to support this.
Okay, any more? If not, I'll move to Councillor Beaver.
I'd like to wish the future residents good luck trying to get off the car park onto Devonshire Road. Oh, sorry, yeah, Devonshire Road.
Members, can we concentrate on what we're doing? If no other comments, I'll move to the vote. Thank you. Moving on to item 3C, Wright's Garden Centre, New Lane Nurseries, Eccleston, pages 53 to 94. Mike's going to present this item. The recommendation is planning permission granted subject to conditions. I've no speakers, so over to you, Mike.
Thank you, Chair. The application site is located in the Greenbelt on the western side. Sorry. Better? The application site is located in the Greenbelt on the western side of New Lane, just south of its junction with Southport Road in the parish of Eccleston, and forms part of a larger site previously used as a nursery with a farm shop and a tea room. The site benefits from a lawful development certificate for the existing use of the site as a construction and groundwork business. The application site contains 5 buildings and hard-standing areas for car parking, manoeuvring and outside storage of materials. The site access is located to the south of the dwelling of number 7 New Lane, to the east of the existing buildings. The application site is surrounded by the residential dwelling of number 7 New Lane to the east, open agricultural fields to the south, and small grass fields to the north, which contain some small sheds, beyond a row of trees that line the northern site boundary. The remainder of the former nursery site is located to the west and consists of overgrown scrubland with the frame of a large polytunnel building still in situ. Full planning permission is sought for the erection of 3 detached dwellings with detached garages following the demolition of the existing buildings at the site. One representation has been received from Councillor Steve Holgate, who has objected to the proposal, stating that the site is located in the Greenbelt with no special circumstances. As explained in detail in the committee report, there are no outstanding objections from technical consultees subject to conditions. Members will be aware that in accordance with the National Planning Policy Framework, development will only be permitted within the Greenbelt under certain exceptions or where very special circumstances can be demonstrated. The framework confirms that very special circumstances will not exist unless the potential harm to the Greenbelt by reason of inappropriateness or any other harm is clearly outweighed by other considerations. One exception of the framework from inappropriate development is the redevelopment of previously developed land that would not have a greater impact on the openness of the Greenbelt than the existing development. This is reflected by policy BNE5 of the Chorley local plan. The council typically allows for a 30% uplift in built volume on previously developed sites in the Greenbelt before a proposal is considered to represent a greater impact on openness. The lawful development certificate relating to this site demonstrates it falls within the framework's definition of previously developed land. Whilst the full assessment is provided within the committee report, the proposed dwellings would be located on similar footprints as the existing buildings. The applicant's calculations, which have been verified by the case officer, identified that the proposed dwellings and garages would result in an increase in built volume of approximately 5% and a reduction in built footprint of approximately 30%. These calculations are, however, only based upon 4 of the existing 5 buildings at the site. The 5th building proposed for demolition is a glasshouse, which has not been included within the applicant's calculations. If the glasshouse was to be included, the proposal would be shown to result in a substantial reduction in floor space and built volume at the site. The proposed dwellings would have a slightly higher maximum height of approximately 1.5 metres compared to that of the tallest existing building proposed for demolition. As a result of the reduced volume and surface area of built development, the spatial impact of the proposed development would be significantly less than the existing development. The visual impacts will also be improved, regardless of the slight increase in height of buildings, due to reduction in the massing of buildings at the site, and the sense of openness would be enhanced, including the scope for soft landscaping. As such, the impact on openness, when considering the site as a whole, would be no greater than the existing development. It is therefore considered that the proposed development would not have a materially greater impact on the openness of the greenbelt than the existing development, and as such would not represent inappropriate development in the greenbelt. The Council's recommended minimum interface distances for habitable room windows are all exceeded by the proposal, and it is not considered there will be any unacceptable impact upon residential amenity. One bat roost was found to be present in one of the buildings proposed for demolition, and so a licence will be required from Natural England for the proposed works. Whilst this falls outside of the planning legislation, a condition is proposed to be attached to any grant of planning permission to ensure a licence is obtained or is no longer required. Similarly, the site is within proximity to ponds which have been previously confirmed as supporting great crested newts. The applicant has entered into the district level licensing process with Natural England to improve habitats, and a condition will be attached to ensure the process is carried through prior to the development commencing. The proposed dwellings would not be located in a visually prominent position, being located mostly behind existing buildings. That said, the design of the dwellings is considered to be acceptable and would not be harmful to the character or appearance of the area. Other issues noted in the committee report, such as ecology, access and drainage, can be adequately controlled by planning conditions. The proposal accords with the relevant local and national planning policies, and the application is therefore recommended for conditional approval. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Mike. Over to you, members. Councillor Whittaker, Councillor Heaton.
Thank you, Chair. Could the officer confirm that the access will be from the existing access on New Lane? There was a site photograph that you showed. Is the access coming from the... Is there a new access, or is it the existing access?
Through you, Chair. Yeah. Yes, it's through the existing access from New Lane.
It's the existing access?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Paragraph 20, I'm not quite understanding it because it says it doesn't include the greenhouse. So that would suggest the floor space is less than what it could be. But then it says that if the greenhouse was to be included, the proposal would likely be shown to result in a substantial reduction in the floor space and build volume at the site. So I don't... Can you explain that?
Through you, Chair.
Yeah.
Carry on. Yes, the applicant submitted volume calculations as part of the application, which I've checked and were verified as part of the committee report, which shows a 5% increase in built volume. Typically, we allow up to 30% increase, so it's acceptable. There was another building they haven't included within the calculations. So what I've said is that if that was included, there would actually be a reduction in volume. So it's acceptable regardless of that building or not.
No, don't follow that.
Go on, Adele. Adele will explain.
Let me see if I can clarify. The building, the glass house that's not been included in the calculations is going. It's just that they've not included it in the calculations. They may thought it wasn't of substantial structure to be included, but it is. Okay.
Well, why would it then, if it was included, why would it reduce the floor space?
It's the percentage difference, percentage uplift. So if you've got 100 square metres of built farm and you're taking it away and you're only putting 50 square metres back, it reduces the existing footprint.
Doesn't make sense. Doesn't to me, but maybe I'm just...
I can't really simplify it anymore, I don't think. Sorry.
Councillor Boardman.
My ward, and know the site quite well. This is exactly the application that this committee should be looking at and approving. It's a windfall site. It's previously developed land. It has a lawful certificate to say that all the buildings on there are lawful. You couldn't really tick any more boxes, to be perfectly honest with you. This is exactly what we need in the rural areas, and this isn't a 50 and 120 house application site put in by a major developer. It's the owners of the site putting something forward in order to redevelop the site out for the use for the future. So I'll more than happily support the officer's recommendation.
Sorry, could I second that recommendation?
Keith beat me to it.
Any more comments from anyone? Councillor Morwood.
It does tick all the boxes. I think maybe I would have liked perhaps not all to be 4 and sort of 5 bedroom. So 3 and 4 is better than 4 and 5, but other than that, it's a good application.
Okay, is that everybody? And then I'll move to the vote. Okay.
Thank you, Chair. Members have voted unanimously to approve the application for planning permission.
Thank you. Item D, Lancaster House Farm, Charnock, Richard, pages 95 to 132. Adele is going to present this item. Recommendation is reserved matters, consent granted, subject to conditions. I've no registered speakers. Over to you, Adele.
Thank you, Chair. The application site is located within the Green Belt and is comprised of a number of existing buildings which have been in various uses over time, including Charnock fencing, which operates from the site. To the north is Lancaster House, which is a residential property, and there is also a fishery which shares the same vehicular access from Preston Road. Members may recall that outline planning permission, including details of access, scale and layout, has already been granted for the redevelopment of the site for up to 6 dwellings, following the demolition of the existing buildings. The layout and configuration of the site, including the 2-storey scale of the development, has already been set at outline stage, and the submission accords with the set parameters. This reserved matters application now seeks consent for the details of appearance of the dwellings, including the external facing and roofing materials, and for the landscaping scheme. No representations have been received, and as explained in detail in the report, there are no outstanding objections from technical consultees or Charnock Richard Parish Council, subject to conditions. The acceptability of the principle of the development has already been established under the provisions of the outline planning permission, and the key issue to consider is whether the details of the reserved matters are acceptable, taking into account relevant policies and any specific requirements of the conditions under the outline consent. The design of the proposed dwellings is of relatively simple appearance, incorporating traditional features reflective of the existing traditional former farm buildings on the site, which are to be demolished, and the style of dwellings proposed and details of materials is in keeping with the wider Lancaster House Farm site and the rural locality in general, and would not be harmful to the character and appearance of the area or the street scene of Preston Road. The details of boundary treatments provide for stock-proof fencing and a hedge to the perimeter of the site, which would ensure a soft edge to the countryside and would be an appropriate treatment in this location. Close-boarded fencing would be utilised between the plots to ensure privacy for future occupiers, and key boundaries within the internal courtyard would have a brick wall treatment, which would ensure a high-quality boundary in the more prominent locations within the site. The landscaping scheme provides acceptable details of soft planting throughout the development. However, as details of hard surfing treatments have not been provided, these would be secured by way of planning condition. The Council's recommended minimum interface distance for habitable room windows are all met by the proposed development, and so it's not considered there would be any unacceptable impacts upon residential amenity. The details of materials, appearance and landscaping are considered to be acceptable, according with relevant national and local planning policies, and the application is therefore recommended for approval subject to conditions. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Adele. Over to you, members. Councillor Morwood.
Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Boardman.
Happy to support this application.
Councillor Boardman.
Yes, thank you, Chair. It's like similar to the last application. It's a reserved matters application, which is on a previously developed site. 5 good, decent-looking houses in our villages. Adds to the total number of houses we've got to deliver as a council. So much would support this one. So yeah, Second, Councillor Morwood, if you did not propose
Thank
it
you.
already.
Anyone else wish to comment? If not, I'll move to the vote. Okay. Alex?
Thank you, Chair. Members have voted to approve the application of planning permission subject to conditions in the report.
Okay. Item 4 is the planning appeals and decisions received between 1st of November and 6th of January. Adele?
This report is just to know, I've got nothing, no comments to make. I think it's fairly self-explanatory. The only thing to be aware of is the inquiry into the site in Eccleston opens on the 21st of February and will sit for 5 days. Thank you.
Okay, any comments? Thank you. It's okay, I'll just show with the hands. Okay, happy to note that report, thank you. Item 5, exclusion of the press and public. I see they're all flooding out. Item 6, urgent business, previously agreed with the Chair. It's planning appeals report, pages 165 to 170. I've accepted an urgent item due to the time sensitivity of the issue. The issue is subject to legal proceedings and covered by paragraph 5 of the Local Government Act 1972, and that's why the public and press have been excluded. By virtue of paragraph 5, information in respect of which a claim to legal professional privilege could be maintained in legal proceedings condition. Information is exempt to the extent that, in all the circumstances of the case, the public interest in maintaining the exemption outweighs the public interest in disclosing this information. Information is not exempt if it relates to the proposed development for which the local planning authority may grant itself planning permission pursuant to Regulation 3 of the Town and Country Planning General Regulations 1992. ICT, can we please stop the stream?
Sorry, we just need to propose in a second.
I'm happy
Oh,
to
sorry.
propose
Will somebody
that.
propose that?
Yeah, happy to do
Will
that,
somebody
Chair.
second that, please? Thank you. All those in favour, just show